which she is thankful for. But all right, okay. Can you guys talk? All right, we're good.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. All right, we're
Am I
live.
here? Am I here?
You're here. Yes.
Awesome. I am here. Great.
Yes. All right. Let's hey everybody. Let's get into it. We've got a lot. We got 3 movies to talk about plus some other stuff. So, hey everyone. Welcome to You Have to Watch This podcast. I'm Alan.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Devon.
And today is a Devon's Disney triple feature because I could not think of a word that starts with D that stands for 3. But we're going to be talking about 3. Devon does this every once in a while. Makes us watch 3 Disney movies. We each pick one. Today's theme is Disney Channel original movies. So if you grew up on the Disney Channel like we did or not, this is the show for you. But before we do that, we like to talk about things that we've seen over the last week in pop culture, just to get the guys excited about some other new stuff. I didn't watch much, guys. I was a little bit busy at a comic convention.
I heard about that.
Yeah.
Same here. I heard whispers.
Yes. I was at GalaxyCon in Richmond, Virginia with our friends over at Victims and Villains doing a panel on Batman and mental health. And it was a lot of fun, very deep and also entertaining. I definitely did not have printouts of the part of scenes from Batman Forever that weren't in the actual movie. I took the deleted scenes of Bruce reading the book, and we talked about that. So I educated everyone on Batman Forever, wearing a Batman Forever t-shirt. It was amazing. But beyond that, I got to meet some famous people. I got to have a 5-minute conversation with Dr. Beverly Crusher, Gates McFadden, which was awesome. Got my photo taken with William Riker, Jonathan Frakes, who yeah, so the photo came out horribly because we were like the last ones in line, and it was like it was a mess. But like, luckily, I have Photoshop and can take the photo and tweak it so I look better. But we didn't get to have a conversation with him because it was like, photo, okay, you're done. Photo, you're done. So we had like 10 seconds, and the only thing my wife and I wanted to say to him was, "Hey, we're Penn State grads too, so we are." And I got William Riker to say, "We are," and I was like, "Yes, I win!"
Oh, well done.
So that was cool. Beyond that, the only other person I really saw there that was exciting was friend of the show, Will Smith. Not that Will Smith, but he's didn't get slapped. But he's going to be on the show here soon to promote some stuff that he's got going on. So that'll be exciting. So stay tuned for that. But overall, it was an exciting weekend. A lot of cool cosplays. My nephew got very excited when he saw the Mandalorian carrying around a Grogu as we were walking out. Like, all he wanted was Baby Yoda the whole time.
Aww.
And then as we're walking out, he got to see it, and he lit up like a kid on Christmas. So
I love that.
Yeah.
What do you talk to Beverly Crusher for 5 minutes about?
She wanted to know about us. She asked what we do, and I told her about my new job. And when she asked my wife what she does, and my wife said teaches 7th grade math. She's like, "Oh, girl!" Like,
what a good answer.
But we talked about, because my wife's a big fan of Labyrinth. We talked about her work on that as a choreographer. She talked about how she uses choreography when she's directing. It was a really cool conversation. Like,
wow.
It made me regret not waiting in line to talk to Jonathan Frakes and just doing the photo op. Like, I'll never buy a photo op again. Those are the only 2 that I'll ever buy, and I didn't even get to go to one of them because of my panel. But in the future, yeah, I'm just gonna wait in line, get a selfie or an autograph, and just have that moment, because those moments are the coolest. Like, those are the stories that I enjoy for Comic-Cons, like having. Like the interaction I had with John Glover the last time I went to Richmond, where it was just insane in the best way possible. Yeah, those are the cool moments. So I don't think I'll ever pay for a photo op again, but I will wait in line to have a 5-minute conversation with people that I admire in the industry. So
that sounds like a good call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what have you guys been up to?
I had a lot of family over this week, so I didn't get a lot of time to watch a lot of stuff, but I did get to sneak one little thing in there.
Okay.
That was like my guilty pleasure watching thing.
Tell us all about it.
So It's called The Reluctant Traveler. It's an Apple TV Plus show with Eugene Levy. I actually heard him on a podcast about this show. Apparently, Apple TV Plus approached him and said, "Hey, Eugene, we want you to film this show about you staying in different hotels around the world." And his first reaction was, "Okay, great. This is wonderful. Thanks. I'd be happy to do it."
Yeah.
And then he said the night afterwards, he was thinking, he's like, "Oh no, that means I'm going to have to travel to these hotels, doesn't it? I really don't want to do that. I don't like traveling." So the next day he called up Apple TV Plus, whoever the manager was, and goes, "Guys, look, I don't think I'm your guy for this." He's like, "I would love to stay in gorgeous hotels. I hate traveling." And Apple TV went, "That's our show." And that's the show. It is about this guy who genuinely hates traveling and is not adventurous and does not want to try new things, going to places like Finland and Costa Rica and Lisbon, and being forced to try new things that he is so uncomfortable with. And it's kind of refreshing to see a travel person take like that tack, because I can't tell you how many like Food Network stars I've seen like, "I love new food and new cultures. I just want to get out there and live life to the fullest." Not Eugene Levy, who's like, "Reindeer meat, that's weird. I don't want it."
I have seen a few episodes of this, and it is phenomenal. I've yet to see an episode on Apple TV, a show on Apple TV that I haven't enjoyed.
I think I'm the same.
Ted Lasso, or not Succession, Severance. Like everything I've seen on there has been great. Yeah.
I was originally not a fan of Apple TV Plus, but I think shows like this, shows like Severance, I think they've turned me on it. I really enjoy what I watch on there now.
Good.
Yeah. Brian, would you watch this show? That's all I care about. Would you watch this?
It does sound interesting, because I go back and forth between being like a person that like wants to try new things, but then within an hour I'll just switch personalities for some reason, and I'm just like, I don't want to go. I don't want to do that. No, I want to be alone. Like, I go in between both, so I can definitely appreciate, because there's that one guy who was like a chef in New York, and they followed him. Like, he was big on like food and culture. I think he was on like the Travel Channel.
Was it
Discovery
Anthony
Channel.
Bourdain?
Him. Yeah. Like, I remember watching his show, and there would be nights where I'm like, "Oh, that's awesome. I would love to do that." But then like halfway through the episode, I'm like, "Yeah, no, I just no."
No more.
I'll tell you what, after driving for 4 hours to and from Virginia, I'm good on travel for a bit.
I'm sure Eugene Levy's not driving any of these places.
Oh, absolutely not. If he did, that'd be a write-off.
It would.
Well, since we're talking about Apple TV a little bit, have you guys been watching the new season of Ted Lasso?
No, I'm not caught up. I'm still mid-one.
I have not gotten around to it yet, but I'm going to this coming week. I'm going to start watching it.
I had to tell my wife today. I was like, you know what we're not going to do tomorrow? Wake Alan up at 4 a.m. to watch it. Because I am still exhausted from this past weekend. So that's what we've been doing. Like, it just schedule wise, it worked out better for us to watch it first thing in the morning, and then I go back to sleep. And by go back to sleep, I mean wait for her to leave and then watch The Mandalorian. So,
how have both of those new episodes been? I haven't been keeping up with either of them.
It's just as good as ever. So
yeah. Good.
Yeah.
But Ryan, I'm very curious to hear about what you watched this week. So
okay, so yeah, I picked up the show Agent Elvis. I had I wasn't going. I seriously thought that I wasn't going to like this show, but I had some free time, had to do some chores. I needed to put something on the TV for background noise. And I was like, whatever, I'll give it a chance. And I ended up not getting my chores done and watching 3 straight episodes. As someone who is in no way an Elvis fan, I have to say that this show is great. Like, it's not amazing, but it's good. It is funny, stupid humor. Take Elvis as Elvis starts off as like a wannabe Crime Stopper. along with being who Elvis actually was. And then he eventually gets sucked into this like secret organization that helps the U.S. keep its empire going. And it's actually really funny.
Okay.
And they reference any conspiracy theory that you can think of that is set in the 60s and 70s. They talk about or deal with in this show.
Can I ask the question, and you can spoil this for me because I just want to know if it happens. At any point, does he reference his own music and say, "I'm caught in a trap and I can't break out"?
I cannot remember, since I've basically binged the season in like 3 days, if he actually says that or not. But it's only 10 episodes. But the only but other people, there's one character specifically that he deals with all of the time who is not a fan of his music. And so she always has like a one-liner to say about him being like an old man or like not understanding what good music is. And then of course he always has his comebacks, plus everyone knows who he is and pretty much likes him. They do what I'm happy about. They do, in like 2 or 3 lines throughout the season, call out some of the issues that people have with Elvis. And they use it as like a gag. But again, it's in good taste. It's quick. It's not like it takes up like a full minute of time. It's just one person saying something and then him laughing it off. Yes.
I need to know, because looking at this poster here, Matthew McConaughey is the top billed actor in this.
Yeah.
Is he Elvis?
He's Elvis, and it's glorious. It is absolutely glorious.
You would think
a terrific Elvis.
You would think, since Austin Butler still hasn't lost the voice, they would just get him. But I think I'm sold now on watching this.
And Bobby Ray, Elvis's like assistant, and like all of the like crap that he does, is Johnny Knoxville.
Oh man.
Oh, it's funny.
I'm still upset that Johnny Knoxville's show reboot got canceled on Hulu.
Oh, did it get canceled?
It got canceled, yeah. But
I remember you talking about it.
It was one of the funnier shows I've seen on. It's the funniest thing I've seen on Hulu ever.
Wow.
And I've been watching How I Met Your Father, so.
Okay, well, yeah. So what I'm going to leave it with, for people who care about percentages and numbers and scores, okay?
Mm-hmm.
IMDb has it a 7 out of 10. Mm-hmm. Rotten Tomatoes has it at a 68%. Mm-hmm. And since I'm looking at this on Google, 92% of Google users liked it.
Wow.
That have gone to like answer if they liked it or not, 92% have. Like, it's a really dumb premise. It can get really stupid, but that's part of the humor, and they use it.
I want a job writing on this show, because there's so many jokes that I can think of just off of the Elvis songs that I know. Like one of the bad guys, he just like punches him in the face, like, "You're the devil in disguise." Like,
really like that.
Yeah.
Well, that and who's that? Who is that old like big like baron back in like the 20s and 30s that was into aviation? The one who like went nuts.
Oh, Howard Hughes.
Yeah, he's in this show.
I saw a clip of him.
Yeah, he's the mad scientist at the secret organization that hires Elvis.
Wow.
Like, it's and they give an explanation and a reason for why Howard Hughes went nuts, and they use that for his character, and there's not one part of this show that I did not like.
Cool. Well, I'll have to check it out. I keep seeing this pop up, and I'm like, I should watch that. And I think you've convinced me to. So,
yay!
On that note, I think we should get into today's main topic, Devon's Disney triple feature. So, Devon, I'm going to throw it over to you to talk about your film.
So we are talking about Disney Channel original movies, otherwise known as DCOMs. Just to give anybody who doesn't know what these things are a brief history of DCOMs. Disney Channel originally was an extra paid service with cable back in the US. You had to pay a little bit more for them, and to help kind of sweeten the deal for parents, what they did is they released original movies. Now, these original movies used to be like prestige movies, like Mark Twain and like big deal movies that they would release on this channel. But as things went on, they started gearing these more and more and more towards children. They started as something called Disney Channel Premiere Films, and then switched over to Disney Channel Original Movies, the first one of which we're actually talking about on this podcast got released in 1997. Go ahead.
Can we take a moment to talk about the Disney Channel premiere films before we dive into everything?
Of course we can.
Because my first choice for this episode was a premiere film, so I could not choose it.
What was your first choice?
It's called Susie Q from 1996, and it stars Amy Jo Johnson.
Wow.
Yeah. It's pretty much one of those 1950s died too young love songs, but in movie form. Like, she dies in a car accident and then this kid falls in love with her ghost in like modern day.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I've never seen or heard of that one. That's amazing.
Well, then maybe I'll have to just bring it on the show.
You will. You 100% will. So back in like their heyday, Disney Channel was releasing one of these movies a month. Disney Channel now releases these movies at a beat rate of about one every 2 months. The most famous DCOM, the ones I'm sure everyone's heard of, is High School Musical. Started its life as a DCOM, but other ones kind of shook or rocked the boat and went a little bit farther than just the purview of Disney Channel. Today, I think all of the ones that we're talking about never really left Disney Channel. So I'm excited to talk about all of them. Are we starting with mine?
We said chronological order, so.
Yep. So that means the first one is Ryan's pick for this. So Ryan, I'll kick it over to you to talk about your DCOM that you had us watch.
Okay, so Under Wraps, the original, came out in 1997, which apparently I'm just learning this too, is right when they went for the name change for what these movies were supposed to be. So none of the movies that we're going to talk about today, and I mean none of them, I watched at all when they originally came out, because I stayed away from the Disney Channel like the plague when I was a kid. And so all of these movies I've only seen in at least the past 2 years. Under Wraps was one of my wife's favorite, so that's one of the ones that she was like, you've never watched these, so let's start with this one. And this is besides another one is my favorite. And it's funny, it's witty, which is a theme I have found out of the Disney original movies that I like. They're witty. It's not silly humor, it's witty humor. Mm-hmm. It's about a kid who loves horror movies, and his two best friends, a kid that does not like horror at all, and a witty girl character that he's friends with. And I mean, she's the funniest one of the movie. Like, she's literally the funnest person of the movie. Agreed. And they come across a mummy who becomes a live mummy, and it's a Disney movie, so he's a friendly mummy. He's not an evil one. Mm-hmm. And they get involved with the mafia. They have to fight off the mob. So anyway, I really like this one. It's my favorite. That's why I picked it. And I spent like $20 purchasing it on Amazon Prime like 2 years ago, so I could always watch it when I wanted. So there's that. So what do you guys think of it?
So since this is the first one, you can tell that Disney didn't sit down and be like, okay, these are the rules for the Disney Channel original movies. Because there's some lines in here that I'm like, they said that on Disney Channel? And they're from the kids.
Yeah,
I'm like,
oh, nude.
Yeah. I'm like, that's not creepy. Like, but no, I enjoyed this. I had a realization I made a joke before the show to you guys that I'm going to hold on to a little bit longer, that you guys just didn't understand. But I'll save that for a minute. But looking this over on IMDb when I was watching it, which I totally finished and didn't skip the last 5 minutes. I realized I knew the director from other stuff that he did. He worked on a few other Disney Channel properties, but he also directed like 18 episodes of Smallville.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, Greg Beeman did a lot of Smallville. He was involved in Heroes. But yeah, so I saw his name, He also worked on the Disney Channel original movie Miracle on Lane 2 and Horse Sense.
All of which I've seen.
And Brink, which we are not talking about. Sorry, Bill. In chat.
Oh,
Next time,
you know what? Brink was my other choice. If it wasn't Cadet Kelly, it was going to be Brink.
I cannot wait for you to justify that decision to not only us but friend of the show,
but to Bill.
Yes.
Just you wait. I have never done more research for this show.
Devon, what did you think of Under Wraps?
Oh, 10 out of 10. I loved it. I watched this as a kid. I knew everything about it. I remembered it beat for beat. I don't know why I remembered it, but I remembered it. And it's a phenomenal movie. It's a silly little kids movie. And I think while I was watching it, I made the realization that this needs to make it onto my Halloween rotation. And I'm sad that it hasn't up until this point.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing that, and I told Kristen this, and she laughed at me. When I first saw this, years ago, one of the things that I liked about the movie was the fact that Disney didn't have their rules set out yet. So, they made the characters have jokes that were can they be a little creepy? Yeah, if you want to put it under a magnifying glass, yeah, it can be a little creepy. But when I was 10 years old, stuff that we would say on the playground or, in between classes, borderline on the same stuff that was said during this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably about right.
So it's one of those things, too, where it was all three of those characters I would have been friends with. And one of the things that I always see in this movie that I always laugh at is when they're sitting at the picnic table during lunch and they're talking back and forth and the camera's cutting to their faces. When they get to the horror movie kid, there is an extra over his shoulder that is watching and looking at them talking. And he's laughing along with the lines being said.
And he's not a part of the conversation.
He's not a part of the conversation. And he's just sitting behind off camera watching. It's really funny.
So this movie is the earliest I can remember of a few things that have kind of shaped my personality and why I do this podcast now. This is the first time I remember recognizing an actor from something else verbatim. Watching this on Disney Channel, oh, I know that guy. He's from this show.
Who was it?
The actor who plays the stepdad in The Mummy. I was like, oh, I know him from Coach.
I remember.
Oh, yeah.
And it was also the first time that I picked up on he's playing the same character. He's the same actor playing two different characters.
Yeah.
But the joke I made to you guys before the show was I didn't finish the movie. I got 10 minutes in. I fast forwarded through the end. Mm-hmm. The joke I made was I don't remember how it ends. He stays a mummy, then he becomes a starfish. And you guys didn't get that joke.
Nope.
Now I do though because it just hit me.
Yeah. Devon, can you think of any popular starfish in pop culture?
The one from Finding Nemo.
How about the one from SpongeBob? You idiot.
Oh, Patrick. Was he Patrick?
He's Patrick.
I had no idea.
Every time the mummy groaned in this movie, all I could hear was Patrick Star. And then is mayonnaise an instrument?
Now that you say that, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, same actor. So yeah, he's living in a mansion, not off the money he made off of this, but from SpongeBob, because that's the franchise that Nickelodeon will never let die.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, so yeah, Patrick Star is the mummy in this.
Wow. Okay, cool. I learned something. I had no idea.
Yeah. Anything else on Under Wraps? Okay.
Yeah, Ryan, was this your favorite one? Even after having watched all of them, this remained your favorite?
Yeah, actually, as I went through, something I kind of let you guys know about, and this will come up as we go through. The other two movies we watched hit me in a way that made me irritated to the fact where I need to watch all of them because I need to figure something out. So with my wife's help, because she was enthralled by this idea, we watched a total of 13 Disney original movies since last Tuesday. Okay. And I have them all graded from 1 to 10. And Under Wraps is sitting at number 10 for me.
All right.
Still.
At the end of the show, I want to hear all of your rankings for the other ones.
Yeah.
But we'll save that for the end.
Yeah.
You are the hero this podcast needs, Ryan. This is amazing. Thank you.
No, you understand, and I will tell you the emotion that made me do this because it is the most ADHD thing ever.
I cannot wait.
Yeah. Anything else for Under Wraps, or should we move on to my pick?
We can move on. I loved Under Wraps. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, I liked it too. I remember this movie. Like, I remember this being in the Halloween rotation on Disney Channel. So I saw this one when it came out, and then it slowly faded away with the popularity of Hocus Pocus taking over Disney Channel. So, all right. So yeah, my pick was Smart House for science. So part of the reason I made this pick is because we all have smart devices now. A lot of us have automated things in our houses or apartments. So I was like, I'm curious how this ages. Like, what did they get right? What did they get wrong? Yeah. So Smart House is a movie. One of the things that surprised me, like watching this, was this is on Disney Plus, and the quality of the movie they have on Disney Plus is god awful.
Oh,
it's like they copied a copy of a VHS and then filmed it on a iPhone. It's blown up to full screen. It looks horrible, but I was like, I don't know if I can get through this just because of that. I almost changed my pick, but then I saw directed by LeVar Burton. And you don't have to take my word for it, but that drew me in immediately because I was like, Geordie LaForge directed Smart House. Okay, I'm in. Yeah, I remember this movie coming out. There were things about this movie that I didn't remember until I watched it again. Mm-hmm. But I'm curious, what did you guys think of Smart House? Had you seen it before or not?
I've heard of this movie before. Because it's a popular one amongst people. I do know that there are some people that have known and know that would consider this their favorite from when they were a kid. Like I said before, I stay away from the Disney Channel like the plague when I was little, so I never watched it. But this movie got me so frustrated that Kristen was laughing at me because every time the lead character would start to like talk about how the family's fine and they don't need any help, I was just repeating to myself, he needs a therapist, he needs a therapist, he needs a therapist, he needs a therapist. The entire time up until about like up until the point where the oranges hit the fan and he finally got over it.
Fair. Totally fair. I mean, he needs a therapist. I mean, I think even after the movie, he needs a therapist.
Like he needs therapy. He needs therapy. He needs therapy. Like that's what I was like that, and the therapist was every time he'd open up his mouth and talk about his mom or the family or, you know, telling the dad straight to his face like you don't need anyone, and I'm thinking to myself like, yeah, he probably does. He probably.
Listen, this was 1999. You did not take your kid to therapy. You bought your kid expensive things in hope that he turned out fine.
True. Yeah. I mean, I think that's how most of us wound up the way that we are.
Just you. Yep, exactly. So when I think of this movie, this is the quintessential DCOM for me. Like this is like the DCOM to end all DCOMs. I think there's a lot of like stuff that you can tell they're still figuring out, but it still very much has a lot of DCOM-y tropes in it that I watched again and went, yeah, this is what I came for. The stuff like the theme song of that, like, what is it, like the house is jumping, that like kept playing throughout the thing, or like the three like middle school kids that have a perfectly choreographed dance in their living room.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, just give me all the plot that makes almost no sense, the really bad CGI, just all of it is just exactly what I want in a DCOM.
One thing that I wasn't aware of, and Kristen said this, that like that song is an actual band, like there's an actual boy band, and that's a real song and a real group that they were dancing with that was playing on the
like, yeah, totally it was. Yeah.
Real as in real life, not real as in real life for the movie, but like real life as in it was an actual boy band that was around during the time
Yeah.
that was from.
Yeah, the one thing about this movie that made that it just made me remember about all of the like musical groups from that era that had like their moment to shine on Disney Channel original movies, and then were never heard from again, like Bewitched with C'est La Vie.
Yeah.
But yeah, like every once in a while that Bewitched song pops in my head, like, is that the song from Smart House? And then it showed up, and he was like, not like, so now I have to deal with that for the next 20 years, popping in my head again. Finally got it out. But yeah, so Ryan, it was part of the reason you're familiar with this movie because of Katie Sagal and Futurama.
No, it had nothing to do with her, even though I recognized her name as soon as it started, and I was like, oh, that's cool. You know, she's from Futurama. She's from, you know, it's like, so like the whole like smart house science fiction. She's there from Futurama. The whole like wanting, you know, it's like being the mom from Married with Children. So I thought it was a very funny role for her to do, since it was like both things combined into one. So I mean, I definitely loved her voice acting, and then at the end I loved her performance at the end. Like that was one of the things I really liked about this movie. And then one of the things I absolutely couldn't stand about this movie was, again, the choreographed dancing, but not just the choreographed dancing. I only know of one kid when I was in middle school, one kid who was a guy who was openly a fan of boy bands. Everyone else was quiet about it and never spoke anything. And they were fans of, like, you know, Three Doors Down or Fuel or, you know, Slipknot or whatever. They weren't open about their love for boy bands. Now, that was, again, the late 90s, you know, because I started high school at the very start of the millennium. So, again, that's probably toxic masculinity thrown in there pretty heavily. But as soon as I saw that scene, I was like, yeah, this is one of the reasons why I probably never watched these movies, because I would have seen this scene. I'm like, oh, no, three boys dancing to a boy band wouldn't happen. And they just changed the channel. Like, that's how my mindset was back then. Like,
Devon, what's your opinion on boy bands in that era? Like, what was your...
I almost came to blows with someone in school about whether NSYNC or Backstreet Boys was better. I'm not a fighter. I almost fought someone because they said that
whose honor were you defending?
Backstreet Boys.
Oh, come on.
Hell yeah.
Yeah!
Get that in focus.
NSYNC's got more hits.
Get out of here. Get out of the podcast.
NSYNC's got more hits. And I don't really care which one's better.
Backstreet Boys has the staying power.
I like them both. It's debatable. I like them both, but I saw Backstreet Boys in concert. I did not have a backstage pass, but I found this antiquing, and I was like, well, I went to that concert tour, so I'm going to buy that. And
you need it.
Yeah. Yeah, I liked Backstreet Boys too, so like, and NSYNC, like I liked, and we're also like two guys who have younger sisters, so
yeah.
I went antiquing this weekend, and there was a stand that had loose CDs for some reason, and on the top of the one, I just looked at it, I was like, oh, that's NSYNC, No Strings Attached. Like I recognized it immediately without reading any of the text. Like, No Strings Attached.
I know what that is. Yeah.
So I was an only child. All of my friends were metalheads.
We know.
Even in middle school. And so my mom bought me NSYNC's like first album because she knew that I liked music, and it was a new group, and so she got it. I didn't even realize what it was at first. And I put it on. This is real story. And I put it on, and it sounded nothing like any of the stuff I was listening to. And I went downstairs and I was like, Mom, why did you get me a girls band CD? Middle school, like 7th grade here. So like, you gotta understand, like, it's completely different mindset now, but like that was my reaction back then to that. That's why, like, I even told Kristen that, and she laughed, and she was like, yeah, no.
So looking at the technology in the smart house, was there anything that jumped out to you guys like, oh yeah, we have that today, and it's better than what the smart house has, or anything that the smart house has that's better than what we have?
I think that like video screens are like way better in real life than what they were in the movie, and maybe it was just because of like the quality of the movie, but they all
Yeah.
seemed super low res. They all seemed really weird, and you can tell it was definitely from an age when like nobody really figured out video calling etiquette yet. Like the one lady was like straight turned away from the camera, like talking to him. I'm like, no, just turn. You gotta turn. Like even if he's not on that screen, you gotta pretend like you're looking at him.
Yeah.
Like that stuff I thought was very funny.
Ryan, how about you?
I found their idea of a holodeck to be very interesting. The family room in like the beach with like the water spraying on them. Like, where does the water spray from? From like a drywall, but whatever.
Don't worry about it.
I honestly though really want like I love the idea of the house gearing itself to personalize it to your personality, to where like it wakes up the son to a basketball game, it wakes up the girl to, I forget what she wakes up to, but I like that, and I want that.
It was Mickey Mouse conducting an orchestra at the Hollywood Bowl.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Which I would love to be woken up to. I'm just gonna put that out there, guys.
What's amazing though is you can do that with your phone. You can set like the certain song that you want or clip to be your alarm on your phone.
Yeah, but it's not Layla from Futurama doing it for me.
Leela?
Yeah, Leela.
Yeah, there's that, but at the same time too, like all of my stuff's too jarring. Like if I were to go to like a sport thing, it would be a call. Like, you know, it's like a call from a play from the radio or the TV, and that's way too jarring for me to wake up to, somebody yelling at the top of their lungs.
Yeah, the sports clip wasn't very subtle to wake up to though either. Like I get that it was like a championship thing. But...
I mean, it did start during the play, so like it didn't start with the guy yelling yet. Mm-hmm. So I mean, there's that. Like all you heard was like was like sneaker squeaks.
Yeah, maybe
so, like,
you could start that for yours too. Like start it from the pitch, and then I mean, I'm assuming it's gonna be baseball.
There's no sound to that that's gonna wake me up like like basketball sneakers.
That's probably fair. Maybe the subtle crack of the bat in the background might be just enough to lull you out of slumber.
Yeah, I can tell you hate this idea. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry, Devon. I know you're trying, and I appreciate it.
I am.
Part of me wants to believe, and I hope this happened in real life, but when he was directing the scene with the hologram beach and everything, I really hope LeVar Burton's like, okay, so you're going to step onto the holodeck. I mean the living room. For me, like the only thing that was jarring to me that we don't really have quite yet is like all the automated food stuff. Like we're getting there. Like Keurigs are a thing, and everyone has like the coffee makers for like, or like just drink makers for a bunch of stuff, like the Soda Streams and like the smoothie stuff. We're getting there, but it's not fully automated yet, so we'll get there.
Of course we will. I did want to mention one plot point about this movie that I loved to bits. Was that they tried to call him to announce that he won the Smart House, but they couldn't get to him because he was on the internet tying up the phone line.
Asleep.
Guys, I forgot about that. And I miss it.
And what's so, like, what ages the movie even more beyond that is he doesn't get the phone call, but everyone else finds out because it's in the newspaper.
Yeah.
Like that's you can't do that plot line anymore. Like it's
so this movie, I do have to say, because I know we're being fun, these are kids movies, you know, like watching it, having an adult critique a kids movie is kind of silly, but I'm gonna lean into it.
Do it, hit it.
The kid, the whole thing with like me saying he needs therapy, like that whole plot point drove a nail through my skull.
It got brought up. It was his main plot point.
Like, I understand where it's coming from. I understand that he's, like 13, 12 years old or whatever in it, and kids are dumb. I understand that, but still, like watching it now, that was like driving a nail through my skull. And then you had the thing where like the reason why the house gets screwed up is because he takes off safety protocols and not at one point, and he has several times to explain the fact that he messed everything up. He doesn't tell his dad when he apologizes about stuff. He never brings this up. It's a simple thing to say, oh yeah, I'm sorry I did this, I didn't want you to get with her because, you know, it's like, I don't want you to forget mom, I don't want her, you know, replacing mom. Like, oh no, I understand. They have a talk, and then he can say, "Hey, I think I know why the house is going all screwy. It's because I took off the safety protocols." Boom, fixed. I'm happy in this one because this is a big problem I have with the next movie. I'm happy in this one that at least they do it at the very end, where he apologizes for doing it at the very end of the movie, and that made things a little bit better. But I have this movie at a 6.
Oh, I would give this movie, I think, about a 7 or an 8. I think I liked it a lot more than you did.
I'd go 7.5 maybe.
Yeah.
I just realized like the one thing that, and we'll have to talk about this at the end when Ryan goes through the rest of them. Like the one thing that is a constant between all of these movies is the parents are either divorced, dead, or separate, or just not in the picture.
Yeah,
because you had the stepdad in Under Wraps, you have the dead mom in this. Very Disney thing to do.
It is 100%.
It's definitely a Disney trope. That we will talk about now in Devon's pick, which is Cadet Kelly.
Yeah, guys.
With Hilary Duff and Christy Carlson Romano.
I feed off of your hate. It only makes me stronger. So please just keep this going. Okay, so my pick, I'll talk about it. Stop. My pick is the 2002 smash hit Cadet Kelly, directed by Larry Shaw, who's directed a few episodes of The Flash, directed a few episodes of Lizzie McGuire, has directed Desperate Housewives. He's done quite a few things, this guy. This movie, I think, is the pinnacle of Disney Channel original movies for a lot of reasons. First off, for the time when it was released, it was the biggest Disney Channel original movie until High School Musical came out. It was the most talked about one. But the reason I chose this one over the ones I was going to pick Brink, I was going to pick Johnny Tsunami, was another one I was going to do. I was going to do The Famous Jet Jackson. These are all amazing picks. But the reason I picked this one is for two reasons. First off, Christy Carlson Romano, the lady that plays Captain Stone in this movie, has a YouTube channel, and she's doing nothing but talking about the time that she worked at Disney Channel and what that was like and what the behind the scenes were. And you can get so much insight into how this movie is filmed, and I did a huge deep dive into it, and that was super interesting. But the other reason I did that is because I think of any Disney Channel original movie, I think that this movie had legs beyond what its original thing was. This movie is now an LGBTQ anthem movie. Like this is when people first discovered those kinds of feelings. It plays a big part in a lot of people's kind of coming out story. And everyone involved in the movie was completely shocked and blindsided by it. But I think that is so cool about this movie. The last little bit is that I have the Disney Channel plug spot for this permanently stuck in my head, the way that a lot of people will have like car dealership jingles, because at one point in it they go, "She turns olive drab into totally fab."
Oh God, I remember that now too.
Don't you just? Oh, and it's always lodged in there. Whenever I hear olive or drab, that pops in straight away. So I had to pick this one. It was a shock to myself as well. But do I regret it? No, because it was phenomenal and cheesy, and there's weird stuff about the Disney Plus version of this that we're going to have to talk about. So first off, to both of you, what did you think?
I don't think I've ever seen this movie beginning to end. Like I think
Okay.
I had seen bits and pieces of it. I'm a bit aware of the Christy Carlson Romano stuff from following her on social media. And I've seen that she's done those exposés talking about working with Disney and Shia LaBeouf. And a bit about this one too. And I know she's doing a lot of podcasting now too. Like she has
oh, cool.
A voiceover podcast she does with Will Friedle, who was Ron Stoppable to Herc Impossible.
Love that.
But I think I had heard that this has become an like a pinnacle film for the LGBTQ. I want you to deep dive into that for me because I'm clueless.
Absolutely.
But yeah, this was interesting to watch.
Did you like it? Yes or no? Let's do a quick one.
Yeah, it's
fine.
It's
okay.
it's okay. Fine. Yeah.
Okay.
It looked good on Disney Plus. Like that's like it didn't look nearly as bad as Smart House did. So they at least took some care with this one and didn't lose the DVD. Ryan?
It's fair. Ryan, tell me all about it.
This movie gave me enough anger to watch 11 other Disney movies to find out what the problem was.
Tell me all about it. Don't hold back.
I like slapstick humor. I like witty humor. I do not like silly humor. Let's dance with a white rifle in a room to make someone feel better. Like, no. Everything from the humor in this was not my thing. It was not my type of humor. So I laughed maybe 2 or 3 times through it. That was it. To like 2 or 3 things I found funny in the whole movie. Other than that, the whole idea of someone becoming the commandant or the headmaster at like a private military army high school, and then throwing his civilian quote unquote, inner city liberal arts daughter into a military academy with no formal training as to what she's going to expect doesn't make any sense at all. You would think realistically that she'd be prepared better for this situation. So I understand that they were trying to go for like a teenage girl version of Stripes, but even Stripes had military protocol and their characters understanding a little bit more of what they were getting themselves into. So there's that. 2, there's a lot of situations in this where, like, I don't know, at the end of the movie where instead of, just her coming back and everyone being mad, even though like her stepfather, the guy that runs the school, says, oh, she was with me, she's fine. He could have said something like, oh, yeah, no, I was rappelling down a cliff to save my dad, when honestly, Stone, the one who's mad, would have really liked to hear that because that's something that she struggled with during boot camp. Every aspect of this movie, I'm sorry, but I never watched these movies as a kid, so I'm watching it through adult eyes.
No, I love it. I mean, that's why we do this podcast.
Even without looking at it through adult eyes, if you had watched this, in what year did it come out? 2002?
2001.
Okay. If you had watched it back then, dare I say, I don't think you were the target audience for this.
I was the target audience for this. Okay. In 2002, in the year 2000, I turned 15 years old. So I would have been 17 when this movie came out, if not 18 when this movie came out. Well, no, 16, 17. I would have been 16 or 17 years old when is when this movie came out. As soon as they would have shown whoever, Kelly, talking about, like dealing with school or whatever, like with her teacher in this open atmosphere type learning environment, like shoving the camera in people's faces, I would have changed the channel. If I would have came into this movie halfway through, I would say there's probably every 4 minutes there's something that happens in this that would have made 17-year-old me change the channel.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Sorry, like I said, I'm good.
So I think part of the reason that Devon and I are more receptive to this is like Devon, I don't know how many episodes of Lizzie McGuire and Even Stevens you had to watch, but
all of them.
Yeah. So like Was it you watching them, or was it your sisters?
It was my sisters,
Yeah.
and I was around for it or would watch it with them.
Yeah, I mean, I would watch Even Stevens. I like Even Stevens, and I like Lizzie McGuire as well. But the fact that they had two of their biggest stars in this movie, which I think they would go on to do later with like Selena Gomez and Demi Lovato again, but like these two at this time was like striking gold. But
I mean, this was like Avengers before Avengers. Like, these are these two juggernauts in a movie. I'm doing it. I'm doing it for real. Like, I remember the big deal was that these two are now in a movie together, and oh my gosh, I wonder how they get along.
Yeah. So, tell me a bit about the LGBTQ stuff with this.
A lot of that comes from Cadet Kelly's story, where she's thrust into this kind of society that's very rigid and doesn't allow you to express yourself. And eventually the movie does kind of show that, yes, you're going to get pushed back to it originally, but if you keep going, people are going to embrace your individuality and don't ever really stop being yourself, which is a really kind of, a really good message for people that are kind of struggling with who they are and their identity in the society that doesn't think that they're accepted, that they don't think that they're relatively accepted in. And it also helps that, like, the first thing Hilary Duff lays down on that bed is a rainbow colored blanket. Like, it's the movie's been, I don't want to say accused of, but called, queer coding almost the whole way through the movie, just because of what these characters are going through and essentially all of their arcs through it. So I think that's one of the reasons why it's had kind of this second life as this anthem movie. And I can totally see it.
I'm not surprised by that. I'm wondering how much of that was intentional, because I just saw a news story today about the subtext of, I think it was Selena Gomez's character on Wizards of Waverly Place. Like, there was a whole subplot that they never committed to, but in the creator's eyes, like, she was, there was a relationship between her and this other character who was a woman. So they hinted at it, but they never committed to it because Disney. But that was the intention. Like, and I feel like Disney tried to do more of that than Nickelodeon did. Back at this time. Mm-hmm. So,
well, I know that at least the two stars of the movie, Hilary Duff and Christy Carlson Romano, like, we're not expecting that read of the movie, but are both very delighted that it comes across that way.
Yeah,
that was like one of the main things you got.
If people look, as much as I crapped all over this thing, if people find enjoyment and they find stuff that they relate to in it, I am happy. I am happy that they do. It's just,
it's not for you.
It's definitely not for me. But I love the fact that a movie like this has gripped people that way, because anything that someone can watch and go, that's how I feel. Yeah. If it's hard for them to explain it vocally, which I can completely relate to, but they can see something in media and point to it and be like, this is how I feel. Mm-hmm. Amazing. I love that.
Yeah, I completely agree. And that was one of the things that I thought was the coolest about this was, and also, I mean, Shawn Ashmore in anything is always funny to see.
It's funny, like, all three of these movies have connections to Smallville. Because Ryan Merriman, who played the kid in Smart House, was on an episode of Smallville, and then Shawn Ashmore was on Smallville.
Was he?
One of them was. Yeah, both of them were. Both of the Ashmore brothers were. One played a Freak of the Week, and the other one played Jimmy Olsen.
Oh, funny.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just that time period, like early 2000s was when everyone of this age ended up on Smallville, because it was high school kids getting meteor powers from kryptonite, and God, I want to watch Smallville again. Like,
I need to watch it at all. So the one thing the one thing I wanted to mention about this movie, and this it was probably weird for you guys. A lot of this movie was probably weird for you guys, but there was the time when Christy Carlson Romano and Hilary Duff have their little dance fight in the, like, open air courtyard, and they're like, I'm gonna do this weird move, and then they're like, I'm gonna do this other weird move. Now, originally, playing in the background of that, and this is gonna be a really, early 2000 sentence, was a Macy Gray song. And for some reason, they cut that out of the Disney Plus thing, and it's just a really like generic, weird song that I really hated. And it made me on this watch of it go, I forgot how awkward this scene was. Until I like saw the original to the Macy Gray song and went, no, this scene used to be kind of cool.
What is the Macy Gray song?
Oh goodness. Like didn't look that part up. Let me see. It's Macy.
Is it it's not I Try, is it?
No. Because that one was no, that was the As Told by Ginger theme song, wasn't it?
I don't think so.
No, I think I'm wrong there. That's okay.
It was Relating to a Psychopath by Macy Gray.
That was it.
I'll have to check that out. I did not realize that. Music rights are weird, man. Like,
yeah,
they'd have to pay Macy Gray, and like I wonder if she even gets royalties for her 10-second cameo in Spider-Man. So
she was in that.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Yeah. Anything? Okay, so Ryan, you've teased us already with your list.
Okay.
I want you to tell us what else you watched, and what was your ranking for Cadet Kelly?
Oh, 1. That was bottom of the barrel.
Okay.
No other movie got a 1. There's a few 2s, but no other movie got a 1 on my list.
Amazing.
Okay. I'm gonna pull up the list of the movies here so I can see it.
Okay.
Yep, I got them up.
What
and
did I just
I
do?
will clarify then, because it turns out that Kristen has actually had me watch a handful of Disney original movies over the past couple of years, and I just had forgotten about them.
Okay.
So I will clarify which ones I watched on my hate binge and which ones I've already seen.
Well, let's just try to make this quick. We got to wrap.
No,
this
it
up
will
here
be.
soon,
It'll be
so.
quick.
Okay.
It'll be quick. Don't worry about
Okay.
that.
Okay. Let's get to it then. Come on.
Okay, so just tell me to start. No, start. Okay, so Under Wraps, 10. Color of Friendship, 10. That's one that I saw a couple years ago. Awesome movie, great message. Can of Worms, 9. Saw a couple years ago. Stepsister from Planet Weird, just watched that one last night. That was a 9. Don't Look Under the Bed, a movie that Kristen's always watching, 8. The 13th Year, one I just watched yesterday, 8. Johnny Tsunami, watched a few days ago, 7.
Yes.
Smart House, 6. Xenon, 6. Genius, 5. Mom's Got a Date with a Vampire, 5. Brink, 4. Phantom of the Megaplex. Alan, I'm sorry, but that was a 2.
I don't expect that to be good.
Okay.
It's got Mickey Rooney in it, so like automatically that's a 3. Like
I mean, honestly, because he's in it, that creeped its way up to a 2. Anyway, Mortar Crossed, 2. Luck of the Irish, 2, and I didn't finish either of those 2 last ones. And then you've got Cadet Kelly, which is a 1.
Wait, you didn't watch Luck of the Irish?
I couldn't finish it.
Oh my gosh, you missed the best part
ending
of
is
that
the best part.
I'll fast through it. So here's the problem with Luck of the Irish, okay? I'm watching it, and those were the 2 last movies that I attempted to watch. So I think I was on a burnout at that point. But what happened with Luck of the Irish, and specifically, he goes to a dance because he realizes the coin that he's wearing has the same symbol as what's on the flyer. So he goes there, and there's this, it's like an Irish festival, and they're at this stand, and all of a sudden this like really famous older actor pops up that I've seen in tons of other stuff, and he's speaking with an Irish accent. He makes fun of his shoes, and then he shows him his shoes. And I'm like, oh, okay. An old man is showing him his traditional black leather shoes. And he then tipped his shoe over, and on the sole of the shoe was a snake. And I went, oh, okay, he was a Protestant. So I stopped watching.
Oh.
St. Patrick, St. Patrick's Day, snakes from Ireland.
Well done.
Whole thing. So I was like, oh, okay. And then I went a bit further, and then like there's music playing and his buddy who's with him is like, hey, where'd he go? And he's like, I'm dancing and I don't know why. And I was like, that's it, I'm done, I can't. And then and then like motocross I was excited for because it's motocross racing, and I watched the X Games as a kid all the time, and I'm like, oh, this will be cool. It didn't bother me that the guy's sister was trying to be him. It was all of the, oh dude, bro, man, that's so cool, look at those chicks. It was just too much of that. It was just too in depth, and she's trying to pretend to be him and talk that way, and I'm like, this just isn't for me. So those two I didn't even finish, and that's why I gave them 2s.
Okay. You were dredging up some good memories.
I thought it was going to be because the movie is, if you're Irish, very offensive. Like the old guy character you're talking about. His name is Riley. His name is Riley O'Reilly.
Yeah.
So guys, guess what we're watching next St. Patrick's Day?
Is it this? Can it be?
Oh yeah. We'll each get like a pack of Guinness.
Love it.
And yeah. All right. Well, I think we found some more movies that we all need to bring into the show then.
Guys, I'm so happy we did this.
There's so much potential for more Disney Channel original movie triple features.
No, there's not.
Yes, there is. Oh, we didn't even get to the Miley Cyrus era.
No, we didn't. No, there's new stuff.
I'm going to die.
No, Ryan, you're going to get the best of both worlds.
Oh, that hurts so bad.
Okay, so I was a Nickelodeon kid and a Cartoon Network kid. And if I wasn't watching Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon, I was watching Disney Channel, History Channel, Beyond the Year 2000, Movie Magic on Discovery Channel. I was watching stuff on the History Channel about, like, I did that jump. And then if I wasn't watching one of those two, I was playing video games or I was watching, like, Terminator, Jurassic Park, like that type of stuff. So like I completely missed that whole like preteen geared movie age.
And we're here to give that back to you, Ryan. It's a piece of your childhood you missed. You were welcome to have it back.
Yes.
The only one on here that I actually wish I would have watched when I was younger is Johnny Tsunami.
That is an amazing film.
Which I feel like they had to change the title of the sequel or something. There's something weird about the title because of the tsunami that happened. Anyway, that does it for our Devon's Disney triple feature. Devon, was this your pick for winning the Oscar pool? Is this what you wanted to do, or is there something else that you just want to pull at some point?
Oh, I'm gonna pull something else. Don't you worry.
Okay.
Don't you worry.
Very cool. Well, that'll be in a while. That'll be coming up here soon. Next week is my pick, and I teased you guys that we're doing a tie-in to something coming out. Any guesses what it ties into?
So next week is coming out movie like I don't know. I don't have words for it. I don't know what movies are coming out next because John Wick's already out, right?
John Wick's out. It's not a John Wick tie-in. Dungeons and Dragons is this week. It's not a Dungeons and Dragons tie-in.
I don't know. I don't even know what's coming out.
All right. Well, the Ben Affleck directed movie Air about Air Jordans comes out, and that happens to star Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. So my next pick will be Good Will Hunting, starring Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, and the late Robin Williams.
Great. I've always wanted to watch this movie.
Yeah. This is one that I've been holding back for a while, but with Air coming out, I figured it's a good time to talk about this because Ben Affleck didn't direct this, but him and Matt Damon both wrote the screenplay for this. So there's a lot to talk about. This is a lot more serious film than any of the Disney Channel stuff we just talked about today. So it also has some fun moments. So looking forward to talking to you guys about that. Ryan, you've seen Good Will Hunting, right?
It's been a long time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've seen bits and pieces of it recently on Showtime, and it holds up, I think. But I'm curious to see what you guys think. Beyond that, the following week we'll be joined by Josh Berkey from Victims and Villains to talk about the Horrific Hope Film Festival taking place in Winchester, Virginia, the weekend of, Let me make sure I get the dates right. The weekend of April 14th and 15th at the Alamo Draft House in Winchester, Virginia. We are proudly sponsoring that event, so if you are in the area, please check it out. There's a lot of fun things going on. There's a raffle going on that we are donating to. We don't know what yet, but we will have something there. Themed menu stuff, drinks and menu stuff. Be a lot of fun. I will be there the whole weekend, so come out, say hi, watch some great independent filmmakers work. A lot of horror, some lighter stuff as well. There's a documentary about Freddy Krueger or something.
Oh wow!
Yeah, you can check that out. For more details, visit victimsandvillains.net. To check out more of our stuff, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, maybe, if that floats your boat. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. This is where you can watch all of our older episodes because Twitch likes to delete them. You can also listen to our podcast wherever you listen to fine podcasts. You can also visit our website, rumrunnerspodcastnetwork.net. Is it .net or .com?
I think it's .com, but I want it to be .gov.
Yeah. Check out Rum Runners Podcast Network for all of our stuff and all the other great Rum Runners Podcast Network stuff. In the meantime, for You Have to Watch This Podcast, I'm Alan. Gotta do the Mickey thing.
I'm Ryan.
You didn't do it. I'm Devon. There we go.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And we'll see you next
Whatever
week.
that was.
We're shipping up to Boston, boys.